Hi, this is Olivia Tilton, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about my research in the Molecular Genetics Lab at the Seneca Valley High School. My project is about water quality and the presence of hellbenders in local streams. The general summary of my project is that I'm trying to detect hellbenders, which are the largest salamander in North America. I wanted to correlate their presence or their absence in a stream with the level of total dissolved solids in the water. 5 creeks I chose were the Little Connoquenessing, Big Run Creek, Wolf Creek, Hunter's Run, and Slippery Rock Creek. As it says here, my project is not yet complete. The way I'm trying to locate these salamanders is through eDNA, which is a type of DNA that hangs around in the environment that any animal spends time in, especially in water. It's one of the most non-invasive ways of tracking animals, and it works through a machine called a qPCR, which detects how much DNA is present. The 5 creeks I chose were picked because of how close they are to me, but Slippery Rock Creek in particular seemed to have great hellbender habitat. Big Run Creek, pictured here, was interesting because of its history of mining pollution, and the fact that its water was being cleaned and monitored by Jennings Environmental Center. I ended up having to take samples twice because I originally waited too long to get a total dissolved solids meter for the first samples I took. In the lab, the first step is to filter the water from the samples and to make sure the genetic material obtained from it is pure and uncontaminated. The DNA itself needs to be marked to tell whether it is hellbender DNA or not. It's combined with a master mix that contains dye, as well as primers to mark where that dye should be set. The DNA is replicated by enzymes, while the machine measures how much it fluoresces. For the other half of the project, I borrowed a total dissolved solids meter and conductivity meter from creek connections to measure the water quality. It is done by running an electric current through the water and measuring interference. The way that we have been doing eDNA research has changed throughout the year to avoid false positives, or readings of DNA that isn't really there. Because of this, I haven't had much time to run all of my samples accurately. The data so far, however, is promising. Slippery Rock and Big Run Creek were tested in this one, and the data shown here is good because the lines start out level and they go up in smooth exponential curves. The negative control also does not show that any DNA is there that isn't supposed to be. This data shows a large spike in hellbender DNA for Slippery Rock as well as a smaller one for Big Run Creek. The results for the TDS meter are here. Big Run and Slippery Rock have the lowest TDS, which is why they were chosen for the first qPCR run. The Connoquenessing Creek, on the other hand, has the highest total dissolved solids and conductivity level. Because of its incompleteness, no conclusions can be drawn from my data as of now. The information we have now is still important, however, because it suggests tentatively that there are hellbenders in Big Run Creek where they have not been detected before. I could not have done this project without a lot of outside help. My teachers, Mr. Lavelle and Mr. Carson, worked extensively to develop and troubleshoot the procedure and to help me in the lab. I also wanted to thank Ms. Grice for helping me develop my project and ask more questions, and Laura Branby for giving me access to the total dissolved solids meter. Thank you for your time.